I think Terence Crawford right now in the sport of boxing is the pound for pound best fighter in the sport of boxing right now.
How good is Crawford?
Crawford is amazing, not just good. He's amazing, and
He said the same thing about you.
Thank you, Terence. But I think he should be in the book for
Really? Is that good?
how to learn boxing. You know.
Really?
For me, pound for pound, number one is Terence Crawford. I like this man. It's a great fighter.
I think it's Crawford first.
This is the greatest boxer of all time. Canelo tries to land a left hook to the body, but Crawford lowers his lead arm to block it, then smothers him to prevent any follow-up shots. Now they're on the inside and Crawford controls Canelo's head with his hand, while his left arm is glued to his face and body. This allows him to catch the right hook from Canelo and counter with an uppercut. Then Crawford blinds Canelo's vision with his lead hand while Canelo is in a high guard, then fires a left cross to the body. Then Crawford steps back into a Philly shell, catches Canelo's left hook, and lands across again. This time Crawford frames Canelo with his elbow and creates space to land an uppercut before Canelo lands his right hook. Then Crawford throws a 4-shot combination before blocking Canelo's right hook. Notice Crawford has lead foot dominance, allowing him to pivot out to his right.
What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic, Crawford versus Canelo shocker. Spanking boots in sparring made Canelo overconfident in the fight. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
So when I stop him, y'all gonna say he was too weak.
On my
and,
life.
and he stayed at 147.
You would not stop
too long.
me. You would not stop me.
Okay.
Crazy. You can't see some smoking on. Hey.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That's life before Richard, huh? And I got the glitzy, run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. We're going to chop it up. All right. So, as you can see from the title, we're going to be talking about boots today. And the question is, did sparring boots help Canelo? That's the question. And so we're going to tackle it and, see what we can come up with. Now, one of the first narratives I'm hearing about this boots helping Canelo business is that, a lot of people are saying that boots sold out. Now, personally, I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I don't see boots as a sellout for helping, trying to help Canelo, which, I don't really think he was trying to help Canelo personally. I just think he was trying to help himself at the end of the day. So, that's the way I look at it. I mean, all of this talk, about boots being a sellout, it's just silly talk. I mean, people need to stop that nonsense. I mean, come on. You don't got nothing else to talk about? I mean, it's ridiculous, okay? I don't think he was trying to sell out. Sell out what? But anyway, I mean, let's not get too stuck on that. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous, so I'm not going to waste too much time talking about it. Personally, like I said, I think Boots was over there because he was trying to help himself, not trying to help Canelo in any way, shape, or form, as what I can see. I mean, basically, to me, it was just another publicity stunt by Boots' camp. And I don't know whose idea it was, if it was Boots' camp, if it was Eddie Hearn or who, but somebody came up with the idea that, hey, let's, do some cloud chasing and cloud chase Crawford again, which is how Boots' career basically started off, by cloud chasing Crawford, because as you all know, I mean, nothing against Boots. Boots is a great kid. Like I said, I don't think he was over there selling out and none of that nonsense. But if one thing he's been guilty of, and whether it's him or his camp or whoever, or it's just his fans, he's been guilty of cloud chasing Crawford. That's how his career started. It is what it is. There ain't no point in denying it at this point. Okay? So, after Errol Spence got, taken down by Crawford, all of his fans, was in desperate situation. A lot of things happened after that fight. A lot of people went into shock. Some of them are still in shock. A lot of the heterosexuals, shut down their channels. You don't hear from them anymore. I haven't heard from them since. Okay. I believe there might have been a couple of suicides involved in this whole fiasco. Okay. A couple of the heterosexuals, checked out. So the rest that was left, they was pretty despondent. I mean, they had nowhere to go, and they looked around, and the only thing they could see was Boots Ennis, so they jumped on the Boots Ennis bandwagon. Okay. And they're the ones that's been going around pushing the narrative about Boots, beating Crawford, and Crawford is afraid to fight Boots, and, he's ducking Boots, and all of this talk that, we hear them talking, being, on Boots' camp, they look around, they say to themselves, hey, this is a great fan base. We might as well just co-opt it. I mean, if they want to jump on our bandwagon, let them jump on. And so the rest is history. So it's basically, like a partnership of convenience for both sides, right? The heterosexuals, Spence fans didn't have nowhere to go. Crawford had scattered them like roaches. Boots really had nothing going on, in terms of publicity and all that. So the two came together, and this is what we have. Okay, I mean, personally, I don't really care. I mean, it's good for Boots. You know what I'm saying? Let him do his thing. But we can't deny that this is what the situation is. That it's all about clout chasing. So now we see that Crawford is in the biggest fight of the century. Okay, in the last couple of months before this fight with Canelo, this fight's been building now for months. Okay. Actually, almost immediately after the Spence fight, because I've been calling for this fight for a long time. Okay, probably even before that Spence fight. So, nothing's going on for Boots. Crawford is on top of the world. All this talk about who he's gonna fight. He's gonna fight Boots. I mean, he's gonna fight Canelo. So all this publicity. So Boots, and there's nobody really talking about Boots like that because he's not really doing anything noteworthy for people to talk about, except for the fact that, they talk about him fighting Virgil Ortiz, right? And we haven't really heard much. Fighting Teofimo Lopez. Now, luckily for us, and this is the way I gotta give Boots some props right now. He didn't fight Teofimo Lopez, and I think he would personally. I think he would beat Teofimo. I don't even think it's even. I think he would knock out Teofimo. Okay, let's just put it like that. I don't see Teofimo beating Boots in no way, shape, or form. I just don't see it. But I mean, anything is possible. But I think he would get washed by Boots. Okay, end of story. Now, but he didn't fight Teofimo, which he could have fought Teofimo and got some. Even though I don't really think Teofimo would have took the fight. I think Teofimo talking about he wanted to fight Boots with all 110% cap. Okay, that's all it is. Okay, he was just clout chasing, just like a lot of other people. I don't think he would ever have fought Boots. I think he was clout chasing, and I'm glad Boots didn't fight him because he's a racist. Okay, and why should you put racist in Teofimo's pocket? And then on top of that, Boots don't need Teofimo. Okay, Boots is Boots don't really need Teofimo. Because people talk about Teofimo like he's this, that. Whoa. He got beat by ferocious Cambosos. Okay, come on, people. I mean, who is this Teofimo guy? Okay, no. So Boots didn't fight him, which is good for Boots because all that racist talk that Teofimo was talking about the next banana and whoever want the banana and all. And then Boots would have fought him right after that, and it would have been publicity-wise, it would have been a disaster. Okay, so I'm glad Boots didn't do that. So credit to him for that. Okay, he got props from me for that for sure. Now, the question is, and let's not stray too far away from it. Did Boots help Canelo in the sparring? Well, again, like I said, when I first heard about this, I made a few comments on some other channels. Like when I first heard about Canelo, because I thought it was Canelo that asked for Boots to help him. So when I first heard about it, I was like, wow, okay. So now I'm even more convinced that Crawford is going to KO Canelo. That's what I thought immediately. Okay, because if they really felt that they had to call for Boots to help him against Crawford, then now I know that, Canelo's camp is worried and that they're going to get, like Canelo's going to get knocked out. That's what I thought immediately. I didn't think, I didn't say, Boots is going to help. Oh, no, nah, I didn't see it like that at all, because I already know that Boots and Crawford don't fight nothing alike. Okay, so, I don't know why people ever even thought that they fight alike. They fight nothing alike. They're totally two different fighters, and their skill sets are totally different. Now, they got certain attributes physically that, are almost the same, but, in terms of being physically gifted, they're both physically gifted, and Boots might even be a little more physically gifted than Crawford in terms of size. But as we all saw in the Canelo fight, size don't really mean much. It's all about skills. And Boots don't have the skills or the repertoire of tools that Crawford has, and that's just the way it is. And he probably never will, because again, Crawford, during his whole career, he's been tested against one of the toughest fighters in any of the divisions that he fought in. Okay, and which Boots hasn't done. And Boots is, has been in the welterweight division for his whole career right now, and he hasn't really done much. He hasn't moved up. He hasn't done anything, even in his own division. Okay, I mean, he got the championship via email. Okay, it was mailed to him. He didn't fight for the title. So, Boots has taken the easy route, and, Crawford has taken the rocky road. So, the results speak for themselves, people. So I don't really think it helped Canelo. If anything, I think it probably hurt Canelo, because he probably went in there, spanked Boots, and thought, hey, man, it was easier than I thought. I'm definitely good. This guy is bigger, stronger than, look like he's bigger than Crawford, stronger than Crawford. I'm probably going to spank Crawford the same way. So he sent Boots home early, from what I'm hearing. Okay, I heard that he sent Boots home early. So if you send a fighter home early, it's either one or two things. Either, either the guy was beating you up in sparring and you don't want to get beat up no more. That's one. Two, you was beating the guy up in sparring and you didn't think he could help you at all because you keep beating him up. Okay. That it's either one of those. It's going to be either one of those things. Okay. And so in this case, what do you think it was? Why he went home early? And sometimes, fighters get hurt in sparring. They got to go home early as well. But we saw somebody from the camp, that was this Cuban kid, he was on Mill City Boxing, and he spoke about how, Crawford, how Canelo was basically, having his way with Boots, which wouldn't surprise me at all. Okay, again, I think that Boots as a fighter, and I'm basing most of this off of what I saw in his two fights with Karen Tadzakian, Chuck Hadzian. Yeah, so I think as a fighter, Boots has a lot of holes in his game, and we all saw that in the Tadzakian fight. Anybody that didn't see it, they didn't want to see it, and I don't really see that they really fix any of those issues, because the problem with the Tadzakian fight was Boots was, Tadzakian, Karen, he was doing a lot of movement there. Very good movement, by the way. He was doing some good movement in there, and Boots couldn't cut up the ring. Boots couldn't really catch up to him, okay? And, Boots supposed to have educated feet, but we didn't see none of that education in his feet in the Tadzakian fight. Okay, he was doing a lot of crazy stuff in there, jumping and leaping shots, and just looking like a straight rookie. So instead of fixing that issue and fighting Tadzakian again, because we saw in the second fight that nothing really changed in the second fight with Tadzakian. Tadzakian, went the distance. He did basically the same thing. The only difference is that he improved in his, he stayed on the offense more in the second fight. So basically what we saw from the Tadzakian fight between Boots is that, from the both fights, is that Tadzakian improved in the second fight and Boots didn't improve at all. Okay? So, it is what it is. That's what I saw anyway. Okay? So, Tedzukian was able to adjust, made adjustments in the second fight. I didn't really see Boots making the adjustment. I saw in the second fight, Tedzukian took a knee, but that was because he was more on the offense in the second fight as opposed to defense. So he got tagged by Boots. So he took a knee, which is smart. That's a sign of a smart fighter. Okay, you take a knee, rather than get knocked down. It's better to take the knee than to get knocked down. Okay, because you're doing it of your own volition, and that means you're aware of what's going on in the ring. So this is what he did, and that's Tedzukian is a very good fighter actually. So you can't really, let's keep it real. Even though people thought that Tedzukian, they keep calling him a bum and he's a runner, that's far from the truth. He's a very good fighter, and the fact of the matter is, you got to give the guy props. He gave Boots a difficult fight, and I think even now, looking back in hindsight, Boots realized that, because I saw him recently said that when he was asked by one of those snitch media, YSM snitch media guys, and he said that I think he asked him some of the better movers that he had fought, and he said that Tedzukian was one of the best guys because he was moving all night. He didn't get tired. And that's an accurate description of the whole situation. I think Boots look back at that now and say, hey, this guy Tedzukian was a pretty good guy, which he was. He put up a great fight. Those are the guys that Boots need to be fighting, that could test him, okay? Not just throwing him in there with, tomato cans. And so, that was a good test for Boots, and he passed. Barely, but he passed. But, we need to see more of that, of Boots getting tested there in the ring. So, like I said, Boots acknowledged that Tedzukian wasn't necessarily, he wasn't running. So that was a good fight for Boots. Okay? But again, it just shows you that there's levels to this game, and Boots is at a certain level and Crawford is at a different level. So, all of these people out here, I still hear some people, not much, and definitely, this was before the Canelo fight I'm talking about now. I heard some people still talking about Boots fighting Crawford, when they're going to have, Crawford should come, should fight Boots. Anybody, listen, with all due respect to Boots, okay? Boots is a great kid. But anybody that's talking about Boots fighting Crawford is no friend of Boots, okay, or they're no fan of Boots, because all they want to see is another dead body, okay? That's all it is. Because there is no way Boots can beat Terence Crawford. He should never. But listen, I'm talking, but I don't really see the fight happening again at any level, at any weight, because it didn't happen at welterweight, and it didn't happen at 154 pounds. It's not going to happen at 168 or 160, for that matter. Okay, because again, despite all of the talk of the heterosexuals and fans that jumped on the Boots bandwagon, I don't think Bozy will ever put Boots in there with a killer like Crawford. It would be suicide, and Bozy knows that. Okay, maybe Boots think he can, might think he can beat Crawford, even though I doubt that seriously. But even though I doubt he even believe he can beat Crawford, but you're not gonna say I don't think I can beat Crawford. Come on, you're not gonna say that. But I don't believe that Boots believe he can beat Crawford, and I definitely don't believe that Bozy think that Boots can beat Crawford. Putting Boots in there with Crawford would be like sending a lamb to the slaughter. Okay, that's what would happen. He would end Boots' career. And I believe that right now, if you were to ask the average Boots fan out there now, after the Canelo fight, they don't want to see Boots in there with Crawford now, because they know what's going to happen. Okay, so it is what it is. So again, we know that Boots got a fight coming up soon against a guy called Wisma Liba, 154-pounder. Supposedly Boots was supposed to fight Virgil, and Boots wanted two tune-ups. This guy Luma is the first one. Again, I don't get it. Boots need to be jumping up to junior. Look how big Boots is. Boots need to be jumping up to junior middleweight and taking on the champion, one of the champions. Forget about this Luima guy. Okay, this is the difference between Crawford and Boots. Every fight that Crawford moved up, he moved up and fought the champion. Okay, he moved up to 140, he fought the champion. He moved up to 147, he fought the champion in his first fight. He didn't do any tune-up, he didn't wait around. He went straight for the kill, straight for the big man, okay, and took him out. This is what you call legendary boxing, okay? This is why Crawford is a living legend of boxing, okay? Just that simple, okay? He's one of the living legends of boxing. What Boots is doing, you know, taking two tune-ups and then moving up, you know, to fight maybe somebody, Virgil Ortiz, who's not even really a full world champion, and then, you know, I don't know who else he's going to fight. Nobody really seems to know, you know, I don't understand how is it you can have Keith Thurman coming out and fighting Fedora before Boots. Boots should be fighting Fedora or fighting one of those guys up at, you know, 154 pounds. Maybe Charlo, you know, you know, now if he was fighting Charlo, you know, for a title lineup, you know, in the lineup, you know, for a title fight, in an elimination for a title fight, that would be great, you know. But he's not doing that. He's fighting some guy called Luima. I mean, I just don't get it. You know, you can't market yourself as the second coming of Crawford and not doing anything that Crawford is doing. I mean, how is that going to work? So it is what it is, people. So at the end of the day, you know, I just want to jump on here and let you know what I think about this whole Boots sparring Canelo. I don't think it helped Canelo at all. If anything, it probably hurt him. He probably got overconfident, sent Boots home early, thinking that, you know, it was going to be easy work to fight Crawford, and we all saw what happened. You know, so the whole talking point or the narrative about Boots, you know, selling out, it's all bullshit. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. The man was just doing his usual clout chasing Crawford, and that's all it was. End of story. It is what it is. Now, there's a lot of talk about who Crawford is going to fight next. You know, but before we even get to that, I'm really looking forward to this. Even though Boots not fighting anybody, you know, this Luima guy, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I want to see what Boots is at right now. I'm pretty much know where he's at, but it's always good to see, you know, a fighter in the ring, you know, doing his thing, and I'm looking forward to the fight. So make sure y'all go and check out that fight. I'll cover it. I'll be talking about it. I'll be doing a pre and a post fight when the fight gets a little bit closer. Now, like I was saying, there's a lot of talk about who Crawford is going to fight next. You know, basically, they already got him out there fighting everybody else, even though he hasn't really had a chance to settle in on his win yet. And, you know, congratulations to Crawford again on his fight. Great performance. Now, a lot of people are talking about Crawford fighting, you know, maybe Canelo in a rematch. You know, there's even talk about him going down to 150, 160 and fighting for the titles down there, which might not be a bad idea, but I don't know how cutting muscle. I think he should just stay at 168 pounds personally. But I'm pretty sure he could probably go down and challenge. They should have like an elimination bout at 160. And then he should take on the you know, the guy down there that's unified. Okay, I think Janabek has both belts, two of the belts. Adamas have the other one, and there's a new guy I believe that has the other belt. I forgot his name, but those guys should fight, and then whoever is the undisputed guy should fight Crawford. Then Crawford come down and fight. Or Crawford just go down and maybe fight Janabek for his two belts. Have those two other guys fight, and then he takes on the winner. I mean, Adamas. Adamas has the other belt, as one of the belts. So, you know, that would be interesting. But they're also talking about Benavidez, you know, coming down and fighting Crawford. Now, this is my opinion on that. I'm going to do a separate video about that, but we're going to talk about it a little bit before I end this video. This is how I see this fight. if Benavidez, my personal opinion is, and this is what I would advise Benavidez, I would advise Benavidez to stay up at 175 pounds where it's safe, okay? Because if he even thinks about 168 pounds and coming down there to fight Crawford, it's not going to be a good look for Benavidez, okay? And a lot of people are probably saying, what? Benavidez is 175 pounds. If he comes down, he can come. Why should Crawford fight Benavidez? Look, I mean, people need to stop. Like there's a lot of people out there, talking about Crawford should retire and, he's done everything now. Retire for what? The man is in his prime, basically. Okay, he got at least a good 3 more years of boxing left in him. Okay, as far as I can see. I mean, probably more. I mean, when I say 3 more years, I mean at the top level. But he could probably fight for 5 more years if he wants to. I mean, I don't think he's going to fight that long, but, and I'm not recommending that he fight that long. And I'm not even calling for the Benavidez fight against Benavidez. But what I'm saying is that if Benavidez comes down to 168 pounds to fight Crawford, Crawford is going to knock him out. And a lot of people are saying, well, Crawford knock out Benavidez. Where do you get that from? You're crazy. That's what they said about when I tell you he was going to knock out Canelo, which he almost did. And he could have if he had put the pressure on Canelo, but he kind of eased up. But, it is what it is. All I'm saying is that if Benavidez come down to 168 pounds, he's going to get spanked by Crawford. And the reason for that is very simple. Okay? It's not rocket science, people. Crawford is a much better boxer than Benavidez. He's also a much better boxer than Plant. And we saw in the fight against Plant, we saw David Benavidez go the distance with Plant. Sweet hands. He went the distance with sweet hands, Plant, right? So now you got to remember that Canelo knocked out Plant, right? In brutal fashion. Okay? So the fact that David Benavidez went the distance with Plant, okay, and we saw in that fight that the reason why Plant went the distance with Benavidez is because Benavidez got tired in the later part of the fight, okay? So did Plant, by the way. They were both tired, and Plant really couldn't keep his movement up for the whole fight, so he ended up having to, slow down towards the end of the fight, and he took a lot of punishment from David Benavidez towards the end of the fight. But even though Plant was exhausted, Benavidez couldn't get him out of there because Benavidez was exhausted as well. Now, there's one thing we know about Crawford. He doesn't get tired in a fight. We never seen Crawford faded in any fight that he ever had. If anything, what we see of Crawford in his fights is that he's stronger in the 12th and the 11th and the 10th round than he is in the, maybe not stronger, but just as strong. He probably is stronger because I think his adrenaline starts going. By the time you get to 10th round, to Crawford, when you get to the 10th and 11th round, that's like the 5th and the 6th round for Crawford. Because the difference between Crawford and a lot of these guys that you see Crawford fight, a lot of people, have a lot of different reasons why he's a better fighter. And he's a better fighter technically than all of these guys. Okay, that's a given. But the other reason why Crawford is such a good fighter, and it was the same reason for Mayweather, is that it's conditioning, people. People don't understand how much conditioning factor into a fight. Crawford, just like Mayweather, Crawford is a 20-round fighter. People could look at it and say, what? That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you right now that Mayweather and Crawford, both of these guys were 20, Crawford still is, Mayweather was, they were 20-round fighters, meaning that in any of their fights, they could have went for 20 rounds, no problem. Mayweather could have done it, Crawford could do it right now. If they say, Crawford, this fight is going to be 20 rounds, it would be no problem for Crawford. Every other fighter would collapse before the 20 rounds is up. Okay? This is what it is. This is one of the secrets to Crawford, and it was one of the secrets to Mayweather. Conditioning, people. That's one of the main things in fighting is conditioning. The guy that gets tired first is going to lose most of the times. It's just the way it is. It's physics. Okay? So, if Benavidez fights Crawford, Crawford is going to take Benavidez to deep waters and he's going to drown him. Okay, because again, as far as I'm concerned, Crawford is a better fighter than Plant, and I saw that fight with David and David Benavidez and Plant was able to outbox Benavidez for the whole fight. Basically, he didn't get knocked out when he should have been knocked out, but he outboxed David for like about the first 6 rounds or 5 rounds. Basically, he was outboxing David. Okay, meaning he was surviving. And David was coming forward, but David just comes forward. He doesn't really do anything spectacular. He tries to use his size, he uses his length. I mean, if I'm David, I wouldn't fight the way he's fighting as the monster coming forward. I wouldn't fight like that. I would fight more like the way Crawford fights because you have all those tools: long reach, height. So you should be boxing and keeping your fighters at range, not walking them down like like the monster. You could do that to regular fighters like Plant, and that guy that you fought Coney or whatever his name is. You can do it to those guys, but you're not going to do it to a top level fighter like Crawford. It's not going to work. So what are you going to do in there against a guy like Crawford? You're going to have to. You should try to box him. And personally, I mean, people might not believe this, but personally, I believe that. Jose Merciless Benavidez was a better fighter than his brother David. I think he's a better boxer. Okay, that's what I think. Okay, people can say what they want to, but I believe that Jose Merciless Benavidez, who got stopped by Crawford in the 12th round, in a great fight, by the way. I love that fight. That was a great fight by Jose. I believe that Jose is a better boxer than his brother David Benavidez. Okay. And we all saw what happened with Jose, so I don't think it's going to be any different with. It's going to be one difference. I don't think Benavidez is going to be able to go 12 rounds. Okay, I think he's going to get knocked out maybe around the 10th. Okay, 9th or 10th round. I don't think he's going to make it to 12. And why he's not going to make it to 12? Because he's going to get out of hand. I know we saw in the Canelo fight that Canelo didn't get out of hand. Canelo got in there and he thought he was going to get out of hand. He went in there. And once the first, second, and third or fourth round went by, Canelo realized something. He realized that, you know what? If I come in here and get out of hand against this guy Crawford, he's probably going to knock me out. So I'm just going to, play safe. I'm going to fight, try to take him out, but I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not going to get out of hand because I don't want to get knocked out. And that's what happened. He just basically played it safe. And fought the rest of the fight, and he was able to go the distance. Okay, but if he had tried anything funny or tried to get out of hand, Crawford would have stopped him. And that's what's going to happen with Benavidez, because Benavidez believes in the hype. He believes he's the monster. He actually believes it. So he believed that he could walk Crawford down because of his size. He's a light heavyweight and all of that talk that we're going to be hearing, in a build-up to this fight. David is a monster. He's a 175-pounder, this, that, and the other. But all of that, none of that is going to be making a difference, okay, at the end of the day. If he goes down to 168 pounds and fight Crawford, Crawford is going to stop David Benavidez, and you heard it here first. I'm telling you. Because again, and the reason why I say that is because, again, another reason is that we saw that in the fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell. Again, that was a fight that David should have stopped Morrell, but I thought he probably could have, but I bet that he was going to spank Morrell. I thought he'd probably even knock him out. But, again, we saw what happened. David got tired in there. So did Morrell, by the way. Lucky for David that Morrell got tired. And so they both got tired. And, again, David was able to gut it out like he usually do. That's one thing about you got to give it to David Benavidez. He'll gut it out. He's not going to just... Even though he's tired, he's still gonna, gut it out and go in there and try. But that will work against regular guys. That's not gonna work against Crawford. If he goes in there and gets and fades in the last part of the fight, Crawford is gonna stop him because Crawford don't fade. Crawford is a 20-round fighter, and basically that's the difference between him and a lot of other fighters. So, with that said, people, I don't think that David Benavidez Sr. is going to put his fighter David in there with Crawford. I'd advise him not to do that. Stay at 178 pounds, 175 pounds, where it's safe up there. You know, coming down to 168 is is very dangerous at this point in time. Canelo is not 168 anymore. It's Crawford is there now. Okay, it's a different kettle of fish, my people. Crawford, is not Canelo. And, don't think, you can just call out Crawford and he's just going to turn the other cheek. So, Benavidez, you're my guy. I like you as a fighter, but if I was you, I would stay at 175 pounds where it's safe, okay? And I don't think your father is going to, you never know. Money makes people do a lot of strange things. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not calling for the fight, really. But I wouldn't mind seeing it happen. I don't think, it looked like a lot of people are trying to protect Crawford's or they don't believe that Crawford can beat Benavidez. They didn't believe he can beat, he can beat Canelo. He shouldn't have taken the fight with Canelo. Canelo is too big and all this nonsense, But I'm not of that opinion. I think I don't mind seeing Crawford get challenged by a guy like Benavidez because as far as I'm concerned, we haven't seen the best Crawford yet. And, I want to see the best Crawford. So it is what it is. So if the fight happens, I'm with it. I'm for it. Let's get it. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to it. I mean, I don't know if a lot of people are saying that, Crawford said that that Benavidez is too big and, what he looked like fighting Benavidez. Well, he said the same thing about Canelo before that fight happened, and sometimes, like I said, guys like Crawford, he said he don't really like tooting his own horn too much, and I believe him. That's the kind of person he is. But sometimes people like Crawford don't even realize how good they are. I think, so I mean, it is that's what it is, and so I'm pretty sure if Benavidez push it and really want to fight, and the Turkey al-Sheikh put the money in, we're gonna see that fight. And if we don't see that fight, we might see a fight between Crawford and Hamza Shiraz. We might see that fight, a big money fight. I don't know, but Shiraz ain't really done anything, so I don't know what, he don't have the same kind of profile that Benavidez has, even though Benavidez don't really have a title or anything, but he was supposed to fight. A lot of people wanted to see him fight Canelo, and that fight should still happen because quiet as kept. I'm not really convinced, even after the loss to Crawford, I'm not really convinced that David Benavidez can beat Canelo. Even though a lot of people are saying that, okay? And, I mean, I probably would give him the edge, even though I think it's more of a 50-50 fight. I think it's a 50-50 fight, and maybe even Canelo might have the edge in that fight, really. But again, both of these guys have conditioning problems, so we don't know how that would turn out. But I'm not really convinced that David can beat Canelo. I would have to see it to believe it, and that's where I see that. So all of this talk, so the people that want to see Canelo fight Benavidez, they might be saying now that Crawford is at the top and he's got the belt, then he should fight Benavidez. Man, I don't really see anything wrong with that. And Benavidez come down to 168 pounds. But we're not talking about no catch weight. We're not talking about none of that nonsense. If he's going to come down and fight Crawford, he's got to come down to 168, just like Crawford went up to 168 from 3 weight divisions. So if Crawford could go up 3 weight divisions to fight Canelo without catch weight, Benavidez could come down 1 weight division and fight Crawford without any catch weight. So I don't want to hear nothing about no catch weights. If he's going to come down and fight, come down and fight. Simple as that. And so, again, I don't think it's going to happen really because I think after this fight that, Benavidez Sr., who thought it was impossible for Crawford to beat Canelo, I think, he might have a change of mind about Crawford fighting Canelo. But then again, he might not because, I don't think, if people call for the fight, David probably would go for it. He's that kind of a guy. He's going to want to go in there and try to get out of hand with Crawford, and that's what's going to be his downfall. And this is why Crawford is going to knock him out. So with that said, people, I'm going to leave it there. This is TBE Boxing saying, I'm out.
I think Terence Crawford right now in the sport of boxing is the pound-for-pound best fighter in the sport of boxing right now.
How good is Crawford?
Crawford is amazing, not just good. He's amazing, and
He said the same thing about you.
Thank you, Terence. But I think he should be in the book for
Really? Is that good?
how to learn boxing. You know.
Really?
For me, pound for pound, number one is Terence Crawford. I like this man. It's a great fighter.
I think it's Crawford first.
This is the greatest boxer of all time. Canelo tries to land a left hook to the body, but Crawford lowers his lead arm to block it, then smothers him to prevent any follow-up shots. Now they're on the inside and Crawford controls Canelo's head with his hand, while his left arm is glued to his face and body. This allows him to catch the right hook from Canelo and counter with an uppercut. Then Crawford blinds Canelo's vision with his lead hand while Canelo is in a high guard, then fires a left cross to the body. Then Crawford steps back into a Philly shell, catches Canelo's left hook, and lands a cross again. This time Crawford frames Canelo with his elbow and creates space to land an uppercut before Canelo lands his right hook. Then Crawford throws a 4-shot combination before blocking Canelo's right hook. Notice Crawford has lead foot dominance, allowing him to pivot out to his right.